despite the fact that, I mean, Governor Strickland and I have a record of, we're proud to be Democrats, but we're prouder still of focusing on the right policies regardless of who supports them.
There's an old saying in Ohio politics that you have to lose a few before you win.
Well, then I'm the guy. What more do you have to say? Okay. Just made my case.
Along that line, why are you a better candidate today than you were maybe in 1998 or prior to that?
Well, I'm a better candidate for lots of reasons. One, because I served time in the private sector. Whether you go into the private sector voluntarily or involuntarily, I can tell you you're a much better public servant if you ever re-enter. I personally believe it should be a statutory requirement for every elected official to voluntarily or involuntarily leave public office and spend some time doing the work in the private or nonprofit sector. The chances of that law being passed are zero. But having said that, my only point is that I believe the best public servants are the ones who've had a life at the intersection of the private, public, and nonprofit. And to have served in all three gives you a far better perspective on what's important in government. Having lost also is a wonderful learning experience. Nobody, including me, loses on purpose. I tried that argument once, it just didn't fly. But having said that, some of the best public servants ever to serve our country, our nation, our state lost first. In fact, most of them did. Our governor, our lieutenant governor, every past former governor I can think of.
Abraham Lincoln.
And Abraham Lincoln, in fact, I have this great little plaque. Abraham Lincoln, I believe, in addition to 2 mental breakdowns and a business failure, lost 7 elections before he was elected President of the United States. So I would make the argument I'm the best qualified person ever to run for the United States Senate, based upon that. Now, I will tell you just 2 things real quickly, and I don't mean to be facetious. Let me just talk very briefly about the losses in 94 and 98. Because this is inside baseball, but every once in a while people says, well, you know, Fisher lost in 94, and Fisher lost in 98. Can he really win on his own? Since the last time he won on his own was 1990. Well, without belaboring the point, let me just remind you of some history. In 1994, there was a political tsunami led by Newt Gingrich that brought in Republicans at every level. Person by the name of Ted Strickland, I believe, lost. Lee Fisher lost re-election as Attorney General. Mario Cuomo and Ann Richards lost for governor. The list goes on and on and on. But why did it peak in Ohio? Well, it peaked in Ohio because Ohio history shows that if a candidate for governor can get 65% or more, they have a good chance of sweeping the entire election and getting their whole ticket in. The highest at that point had been Jim Rhodes beating Fraser Reams by about 65%. And I remember getting a call from my pollster a couple days before the election, and he said, I've got good news and bad news. He said, the good news is that unfortunately all the Democrats are losing by large numbers, but you are neck and neck with Betty Montgomery, and it's very, very tight. And I said, what's the bad news? He said, well, if George Voinovich, who was running for re-election, gets 65% of the vote, which will match Jim Rhodes' record, you will still win. That's how strong you are. But if he goes over 65%, it's a tsunami that you cannot withstand because your nominee for governor, Rob Birch, has not had any television commercials, hasn't raised any money, and is bringing down the whole ticket. That particular election, George Voinovich's margin of victory was the largest margin of victory not only in the history of Ohio, but of any candidate for governor in the United States of America in 1994. 72%, and I lost by 2 points. In 1998, with all due respect, although Governor Taft's record was one that was less than stellar for 8 years, he had no record as governor when I ran against him. And he had a 100-year head start on name recognition. And as a result, many people believe that he was at that time elected to George Voinovich's third term, and it was the closest governor's election in 30 years. I would say I have always been in races that are close, never lost the primary, and intend to win this election for the United States Senate.